Hello and welcome back to Sunless Sunday with me, Bardon, where we play Sunless Sea. Last time we arrived here on Pigmote Isle and we met a rat and a guinea pig, and it seems that they've been having a bit of a war. Um, and this is basically it's an extract from a book, but it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book where we get to choose what actually happened in this history. So we can decide that we either spoke to the chief engineer, who is from the rat side, or we spoke to the seneschal, who is from the guinea pig side. So let's see exactly. The two remarkable rodent sat squatted, both seeking my support. I knew I had to choose carefully. I spoke to the chief engineer. His eyes had a wave cold glint to them, and he wore his scars like jewels. I spoke to the seneschal. How did an armoured guinea pig manage to look regal? I had heard more than enough. I was ready to make my choice. Okay, so first up, I'm not the biggest fan of rats. I remember when I was a kid, my dad used to grow vegetables and other fruits and vegetables in our back garden. And in order to fertilize the soil, he had a compost heap. And for those of you who know about compost heaps, they're a good breeding ground for rats. So now and then my dad used to have to take the shovel or the spade and kill a big rat with it. So they were never very pleasant memories of them for me. In terms of the guinea pigs then, a lot of their words that they're using on that side seem to be pretty difficult to pronounce, but when it comes between the two, I think I'm going to go for the guinea pigs just because of my own personal history with rats. So let's do that. A night out of habit. The seneschal cleared her throat with a delicacy to rival the duchess's own before speaking. Greatsnaw, the king, our lord and sovereign, full 7 months had sojourn on the sea, conquered this land, and won the southern main. Now no fortress against him shall remain, no city walls be left for him to gain, save the rats that squeak behind mountain, unlike was the lamb of our deliverance. Assured shall be our glories and their fall, when our lady's eye restored be to our hall. So it sounds like the rats were already here on the island, and then the guinea pigs arrived from the sea and started invading. So I'm feeling a bit more sympathy for the rats now, I think. The seneschal composed herself, then added, "We saw truth and beauty by the light of Our Lady's eye on Mount Caveat. But the rats, with their guns and their chatter and their peasants' politics, stole it from us. We will subjugate them and take it back. They are a rabble, and we will rule them with the steel-shod velvet of our paws. Will you join us?" Okay, so let's speak to the rat and see what their side of the story is. A rat in the making. I asked the chief engineer to elaborate. He looked at me for a long measured moment before speaking gruffly. We came to this island to make a home for ourselves, away from London. It's cats and snuffers. It's ratkin suits. We came to live as citizens of our own new of our own republic. We came with our tools, our teeth, and clever hands, and we made a beautiful city by the light of the rat star that shone bright and blue on Mount Ararat. The chief engineer nodded towards the distant hill. One day we braved the depths of Chicken Woods, and from the top of Mount Ararat we plucked the rat star to be our light, our beacon. But the pigs of Kavy saw the light, and they lusted for it. They sent armies to rule us and steal our star. We will not permit them to take what is ours. We will resist to our last breath. Will you join us in defeating them? So I have to say I'm feeling a lot more sympathy for the rats now, because they were here first, and then the guinea pigs came along and invaded them, according to both stories. Who actually owns the duel between the two is kind of a bit muddled, but I think I'm gonna go, despite my own personal misgivings, I'm gonna go with the chief engineer. So it says here, he seemed grumpy but honest. Also, I knew all too well what rat-made weapons can do. I favoured the seneschal. Was it her charm or a fondness for London's rat-skin coats that swayed me? Perhaps a little of both. At any rate, I was keen to find out more about their civilization. I attempted to broker a peace. Surely their commonalities were more numerous than their differences. Perhaps I could help them get along. So I'm torn now towards maybe trying to get a peace between the two, or siding with the rats. I kind of decided that I don't want to side with the guinea pigs because they sound pretty snooty, and it's like they arrived here and they feel that they have a birthright to push out the rats because they're of a lower class, and that kind of grates with me. But I think I'm going to go to try and broker a peace and see what comes of that. I may not get anything from it because both of them offered me fuel and supplies. But if I don't pick one, we're probably not going to get that. But I'm going to try and broker a peace and see what happens. I attempted to broker a peace. My words helped them reach agreement. The chief engineer and the seneschal shared a look, then regarded me with scornful amusement. Yes, smirked the chief engineer. You're obviously much cleverer than us. Oh, much, murmured the seneschal. You clearly know us much better than we know ourselves. Apparently, idealism would not help here. Okay, so they're obviously being sarcastic. So because of that, I'm going to go with the chief engineer and see what happens. A friend to rats. I wouldn't go that far. I extended a finger to the chief engineer, who shook it grimly. The seneschal hissed and chattered her teeth in disgust, but kept her distance. You've made the right choice, said the chief engineer. Let me show you around. So we gained one fuel and just one supply. I was hoping for more than that. But we did get a memoir. Chapter 3. A Rat in the Making. The chief engineer led me to the northern side of the island, skirting the chicken woods. We passed through a number of what can only be termed checkpoints, as fierce-eyed rats shouldered their derringers and saluted the chief engineer. Soon we come upon a small colony, smaller than some of the infestations I had encountered in London flats, perhaps only 50 ratas faber altogether, working diligently to fortify their side of the island. The first thing I noticed was a brilliant light, beaming out from a stump of chicken wood about 6 feet high. It bathed the whole settlement in a clear blue glow, and was almost too bright to look at. By its light I could see several raised mounds of earth, suggesting shallow tunnels. An efficient fishing operation was set up by the water. An albino rat mended nets, while others stabbed sharpened sticks into the waves. Further inland was a barracks, where a sergeant barked drills at a small squadron of fighters. My arrival drew attention, and several rats paused in their work to look at me curiously. "Welcome to Morinia." "Morinia?" Okay, said the chief engineer, voice warm with pride. "It's not much to look at now, but it will be once we've rousted the cavies. Take a stroll around while I summon the War Council." With that, he vanished into one of the mounds and left me to explore. Okay, so I visited the rat barracks. The drill sergeant appeared to be sizing me up. Were the few rats around here really all she had to launch an attack? I took a closer look at the rat star. An excitable-looking rat was peering at it through smoky goggles, twitching her whiskers and making notes on what appeared to be real paper. I headed down to the beach. Who ever heard of a rat mending a net? I finished my exploration. The bells of the War Council rung. I was summoned. Okay, so I'm going to start with the barracks. We were fighting impressive odds. I approached the drill sergeant and went so far as to salute her, which earned me a grunt of satisfaction. The sergeant dismissed our troops and offered me a bit of chickenwood jerky to gnaw on. "There's more of us below ground," she explained, "but not enough. The cavies are bigger and there's more of them. We're better with weapons, but haven't got the stuff to make them with. Most of us came here as stowaways and brought nothing but food, tools, and the fur on our backs. We can fish and we nibble the chicken woods, but we can't make guns out of trees. The cavies came with their own steamer and seem to have endless supplies. We raid them sometimes, but there's so few of us, and we can never hold on to territory gained for long. But that's of no consequence. All we want is to be left in peace, to build our republic. And the Rat Star," she added thoughtfully after a moment. "Of course, we want that too. I'm sure both sides do." Okay, so next let's take a close look at the Rat Star. "Blue as a sapphire, but endlessly more brilliant. It's not a star, of course, not really, but try explaining that to the others," the chief engineer. "The chief engineer doesn't want me working too hard to convince them. Says this is better for morale. But just look at it. Look." She offered me her goggles. I managed to work them over just enough of one of my eyes to see the truth of what she was studying. It was scintillac, but unlike any I'd seen before. Blue as a sapphire, but most brilliant. Something about the clarity of its colour was tremendously soothing. The chief science officer tittered with pleasure as I handed her goggles back. Those of us who've been to the cavey side of the island and lived to tell of it say that there's plenty of glow there, plenty of bright in the water all around, but nothing like this. We took this from the island centre, Mount Ararat. Only it's not a mountain, of course, any more than this is a star. It's hollow. There's sweet water inside and coral crawling all up. Coral crawling up the walls of it, but nothing that glows, save this. It's ours now, and no one can take it from us. Okay, and then let's go down to the beach, where the green billows played. An albino rat smiled up at me from his mending work, looking dainty and a little shy. Chickenwood floats, especially when it's dried out and sealed, so we're able to paddle out a bit and cast our nets. We come up with all sorts of things. Blind fish, crabs, sometimes a chunk of broken tentacle. But the fishing would never be so good without the rat star, he beamed. I think it only draws good fish and keeps the scary ones at bay. I know the chief science officer doesn't believe it, but I do. That light is our livelihood, so they're definitely not going to give it up without a fight. I finished my exploration. Okay, the bells of the War Council rang, I was summoned. The chief engineer emerged from underground with a motley assortment of other rats. He introduced them as weapons experts, strategists, and field commanders. So you're going to help us beat the cavies, he said, a hard edge to his voice. But how exactly? I had nothing to offer but my advice. The king took it, and a desperation, if not gratitude. I offered my strategic assistance. We engineered a distraction that the LBs could use to plunder Cavy's ship and turn the tide in their favour. I determined to take the lead. I had a ship, I had cannons. We would steer her to the southern side of the island and have at those up the animals. So those both are tough challenges, so we're not going to go for that. We're going to go for this one here. A charge. The cavies had the advantage over the rats. To prolong this much longer was a sure path to defeat, I advised them. To put everything they had into one desperate assault on the beach ship. And happily they concurred. The sound of gunfire and screams echoed as far as my ship, where the crew and I sat and watched. Few of the rats that marched forward that day returned to the light of their precious rats there. Those that did returned bloody and shaking, yet in triumph. It was as much as they could have hoped for, if hardly to call a victory. Okay, so they won despite facing huge odds. The House of Cavey had fallen. Marinia was triumphant. All that remained was the celebrations and the continuation of our voyage. Oh, how we feasted long into that night. Then I invited one of the raptors' favourites to join us. After all, what's a ship without a few rats? Okay, it doesn't seem to cost us anything if we do that. I interceded on behalf of the cavies. They were crushed, defeated, and I could see their spirits broken without the light of the rat star to guide them. They needed an advocate. Unlock with memoirs, a rat making, blah blah blah. I only have one, okay. The wide dark sea beckoned. We had eaten our fill and our business was concluded. It was time to continue our voyage and see what other wonders and terrors still awaited us. So I think we're just going to continue our voyage. The end. There you finish your diary entry and the final dregs of the rat's surprisingly good wine. They lined up to salute you as you leave the victory banquet, escorting you to your ship through the foundations of their new republic. Okay, so we got a port report and our hunger is gone. That's all for now. A new nation has been founded. Okay, so it's strange how the story went there, because I started out definitely not wanting to side with the rats, and then in the end I was kind of feeling a bit of sympathy for the guinea pigs, even though, you know, when I read through the story I was thinking, the guinea pigs are a bit uppity and they're looking down on the rats and the rats are just defending their home. But as the story went on, it seems, you know, whoever the victor is, they don't really treat the defeated too well. So I'm really glad to be getting out of here, because at the end I don't really like either of these guys. But let's see if there's something else to be done here. So we can visit the KV ghetto. So we could smuggle food into the ghetto. That would cost us $5. We only got 3, and it'll cost us 2 supplies as well. So we don't have the supplies to spare for them, unfortunately. Assist the KV revolution. Give us your cunning. We will help you steal the lady's eye. The loss will crush their resolve. So we could do that. This guarantees you the rat star, but will cost 5 veils. So what do I want to do? So how many? So that's pages. We have 25 veils. So I think I'm actually going to do that. As I said, the rats were a bit... they didn't treat the guinea pigs too well, and I don't really like either side, so I think taking the rat star is a good thing for us. Thieves in the night. Mud helps to disguise a few of the braver cavies. They scurry through the dark, carefully maintaining their night vision by avoiding looking at the eye. Your plan works perfectly. They sneak up on the rats guarding the lady's eye and slit their throats. You watch from a careful distance. The light of the chicken wood suddenly goes out, blinding you with sudden darkness. You hear movement, a slight glow from an open oilskin bag. The cavies return triumphant and present you with the lady's eye as agreed. Take it, whispers the lead guinea pig. Take their light from them. She disappears into the shadows. Squeaks echo in the darkness as the cavies seize their advantage, flooding out of the ghetto to attack the confused rats. The loss of their treasure may or may not decide the outcome, but your part in this fight is over. It's time to leave. You doubt you will be welcome back anytime soon. Okay, so we lost 5 veils, and we got blue scintillac, which we can sell in London. And we've been banished from Pigmote Island, which is fine by me. I didn't want to come back to your crummy island anyway. So let's set sail. And hang on, actually, let's stop for a second. Turn off our light. Check our map. Okay, so what I want to do actually in making my way back to London is to go up north and cut across this way, I think. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And then I'm probably going to head, let's see, actually, yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll go around the island this way just to open up more of the map. Then cut down to Mutton Island, see if I can get a new port there, and then make my way back up to London. Okay, so let's head off. Just looking at my timer here, I'm probably going to call it an episode now. So let's stop our ship and we'll continue our voyage next time. If you have enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. And I really do hope to see all of you next time. Goodbye.